Some people are upset that I don't just agree with them completely. I have a mind of my own. I have to think things through, and I refuse to stop thinking and just agree with people because I'm on the side. I am on the side of the people with the flotilla. I am on the side of ending what I think is an unjust blockade against the Palestinian people. That being said, I still have to think for myself. When events happen, I can't just jump over into this camp and put on blinders and only look at information that suits our side. I have to look at all the information. So if I want to look at stuff, it doesn't mean I've been swept over by the Zionist brainwashing. I just want to think for myself. Please just respect that I would like to consume the information and get the information and make my own assessment about what actually happened. I think there are a few people who are far too passionate to really have a meaningful dialogue about what's going on with this flotilla. After what happened last year, when Israel went in and killed all those innocent people in the cities, it makes it hard to even want to deal with this issue. First, they were going to issue a condemnation about the deaths of all these innocent people on the flotilla. Then the United States gets involved, and they change it from a condemnation to a regrettable loss of life. Now, when you hear that, the first thing you say is, oh man, what an embarrassment that we can't even condemn this. Two sides are playing the game. If you mess up, you die. Nobody on their end dies. If they mess up, you die. No one on their end dies. And a lot of people mentioned this. A lot of people made mistakes, possibly. But when the other side's mistakes always end up in your death, not cool. Perhaps the United States doesn't want to cast blame yet because they don't have all the information. And that's a wise thing to do. If you're used to the same old game, when you look at it, you go, yeah, right. But it's the only way to really get a truthful outcome. The only possible way is to wait and reserve judgment until you have all the evidence. But also, that's the way you also cover up stuff. So it looks the same initially. We have to wait and see what the ultimate results are. For me, it seems to me like we don't even need to discuss this stuff, because if it's international waters and these people are attacking this flotilla in international waters, that you should be able to defend yourself. Is that true? It sure seems like it, but sometimes people in power have a tendency to rewrite the laws. I'll try to talk to somebody about the events of the flotilla, and they'll talk about the injustice of the blockade. There is a relationship between them, but when you start having a dialogue about the events of the flotilla, the injustice of the blockade isn't really relevant, because we're talking about this specific item. The blockade is unjust, in my opinion, but that doesn't have anything to do with, is it legal? Is it legal to jump on a boat in international waters if you think they're coming over to your property? A lot of people, because the issue is so sacred and it's burned so deep into their psyche, that they can't discuss the actual points of the argument. We talk about pacifism. Nelson Mandela, watch the movie Invictus. Watch the movie Invictus and see about how peace brokering is done. Gandhi had the same problem, getting people to be pure pacifists. Even though the people on the boat may have been justified, and as someone said, maybe under a situation like that, there's so much adrenaline flowing, I don't know what it's like, and you're right, I haven't been there. Maybe I would have reacted differently. But the people who behaved physically and defended themselves, that video is getting more play than in any other video. So, right or wrong, the enemy, the people who you are fighting against, are using that video of pro-Palestinians clubbing people. It's a star video. We don't want them to have star videos. If you still wonder whether or not it was a good idea for those guys to defend themselves with sticks, go onto YouTube, click Flotilla, and see how many Zionists are rolling that clip. And why are they so excited, and why are they so happy to have that clip showing guys beating these IDF soldiers? Because it looks good for their cause. And if what these guys did looks good for the other guy's cause, then it's a bad idea. How to get the truth? Here's where you can't get the truth. You're not going to get the truth from the IDF. You just can't. And I'm not saying anything bad about the IDF. What I'm saying is, you got a handful of soldiers, and they've already been debriefed. Soldiers are very disciplined. You can get them to agree on any story you possibly want to, and there's a small number of them. The people on the ferry, big number of people. And if I was an investigator, the first thing I would do is I would separate all 600 people on those boats. and I would interview them separately. With that many interviews, that many people, they couldn't get their story straight. The only story they could come up with collectively would be the truth. So you get all the passengers together, you don't let them talk to each other, and you interview them. You grill them, and you have somebody who's unbiased and do it, and you'll know exactly what happened, at least from the perspective of the boat. You'll have the timelines and everything will be in proper order. So if you really want the truth, you should send over unbiased investigators. They should separate everybody before they get a chance to talk, and they should interview them. That's where the truth, the full truth, will come from. And if you think the Palestinian situation is different, like Nelson Mandela, what was going on to those guys? I don't want to say it was way worse than what's happening, but it was an orgy of death. And these guys went around lopping people's heads off, raping women, and they tortured and raped and murdered entire villages, all they wanted, and nobody did anything about it. And people didn't have little handy cams back then. And Nelson Mandela, he didn't bomb, he didn't fight, he forced his people, tried to get them to peacefully resist, and ultimately they won. That was a powerful, powerful tool. A friend of mine had a dog, and his neighbor hated that dog. Hey, your dog pooped on my lawn. Why don't you pick it up and say, well, that wasn't my dog. Maybe it was a dog, maybe it wasn't. Hey, your dog was barking all night last night. You kept me up. That wasn't my dog. No, that was your dog. This goes on for quite some time, and it's starting to ruin their life. They're so unhappy. One day the neighbor comes up and says, hey, your dog just pooped on my lawn. He says, no, that wasn't my dog. Yes, it was your dog. I said, no, it wasn't my dog. Prove it. Well, we got rid of our dog. He's been gone for a week. So it couldn't have been my dog because I don't have a dog. Why did you get rid of your dog? Well, because it was causing too much pain in your life. You didn't need to get rid of him. That guy, that neighbor, acted like a lump. He was so unhappy. He was so bummed out. I think that guy wanted to have that dog so he could complain to his neighbor, so he could be over at his neighbor's house talking to him. There's nothing he could do. The dog was gone. Pacifism's that way. You get rid of the threat. There's nothing they can say. Because if Gandhi's people don't raise their arms up, no one's going to say, oh yeah, they fought back and they hurt some of our guys. Didn't happen. They'll say, no, it didn't happen. These guys are pacifists. The people on these flotillas are pacifists. It didn't happen. I'd like to think I'm up for the task of pacifism, but it ain't easy. Pacifism's a lot of work. I have a natural tendency, if someone's coming at me, you want to resist. I would like to think I could just put my arms down. I know it ain't easy. I know it isn't going to be something easy to do. It's a challenge. It's restraint. This is a challenge.
Play on America!